Annapolis is rich in political history, but what do you know about the contributions women have done over the years? A local author and attorney is shedding light on that issue. She has two short publications on the topic.
That's right, and Karen Gooden joins us now here in the studio. And tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write these.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'd like to say that it was my mentor and friend of this community, Senator Gloria Gary Lawler, who asked me to write a history of the women legislators of Maryland. The first edition was published in 2004, and she asked me to do an update, and the second edition was released on the day before session started, January 8th, 2019.
Okay, and we do have copies of the book here, the two publications in studio. Now, talk a little bit about it. It goes back to the 1800s, the main women that you feature in here, because there are a variety of women.
Yes, Denise. As a matter of fact, the Women's Legislators of Maryland was founded in 1972, and one of our own, Prince George's County's former delegates, Delegate Pauline Menace, was one of the original founders of that organization. Some 12 women joined with her to overcome some of the opposition that women were facing in Annapolis, because it was very much at that time a very fraternal atmosphere that was oppositional to women leadership.
And it's funny, I interviewed her and did a three-part series on her many years ago. Fascinating woman and wonderful stories to tell as well.
Absolutely. So Delegate Pauline Menace was elected in 1966, and she won by a small margin of votes. But when she went to Annapolis, she was determined to make things different and better for this county and for the women of Maryland. I think she did just that and has left a wonderful legacy that's reflected in both of those publications.
Which leads me sort of to the next question. What can women today learn from them?
Well, I think what they can learn is that if they band together and they work together, that a lot of things can be accomplished. Women typically are very collaborative, and I think that they showed that in their working together. And I think what has reflected this time is that based on the blue wave that passed through this country during the 2018 midterm elections, we can now say proudly that we have 72 women who now sit in the Maryland General Assembly, and it's the largest number of women who've ever been elected.
I enjoyed looking through it. We're right now looking at some video of different parts of it, so it looks great and such great information. How long did it take you to put it together?
Well, the first edition took about 3 or 4 months, and the second edition, Senator Lawler told me, look, this has to be done quickly, so I think the last couple of months I didn't come up for air. I stayed up very late at night and early in the morning, so a couple of months to do that, and I had a great team working with me, and I thank you again for this opportunity to share what I've learned about the women.
Now, are you hoping schools will also use this as a resource, or who are you hoping will pick this up?
Well, I think that it's just been designed for that, for historical and educational purposes, and I think that schools certainly can benefit from that because it shows young ladies and women, other women, what can be achieved when you work together. And it is a historic year of the woman, and I hope the schools will, in fact, adopt these for use and educational purposes.
And March is Women's History Month, a great time to put those books out there as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so tell us what's next for you.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm working on another manuscript that will document the history of my family. That will be my 5th publication, because, you know, I have 2 other books on the history of African Americans in Prince George's County, Like a Phoenix I'll Rise, an illustrated history of African Americans in Prince George's, and A Crossborn, a biography of the first Black district court judge, Judge James Franklin Boyd. Both books are on the supplemental reading list in the county, so the next book will be about my own history of my family that will go back at least 8 generations, and we can talk about our roots in Africa and in Europe and in indigenous America.
8
sounds
generations.
Fabulous.
Wow.
Yes, you'll have to come back and talk to us when it's done.
It's called They Came from Cross Salt Water, so we're working on that now.
Yeah.
Love this history.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And if you would like to get a copy of the publications, you can contact the Women's Legislative Caucus office in Annapolis. That number is 410-841-3013, or you can email them. That's at womens.caucus@house.state.md.us. Long address, but it's well worth checking into.